I think you can see me now. Okay, hey y'all, it is Charisma with Traveling with Charisma and Cam, where I teach you all how to travel with your kids on a budget and have fun while doing it. Hey Tracy, hey Eileen, hey Sam. Sam is my guest today. She's gonna be on a little later, around 11:30, to help us find the perfect Airbnb. So today we are talking about finding an Airbnb. A lot of us travel full time. Even if we're not traveling full time, we definitely need to make sure that wherever we're staying, it is safe. It is affordable and it is for us. And lately, I don't know what's going on with these Airbnbs, y'all. Like, it has been a mess. Hey, Nurse T. Hey, barely articulating. Hey, Edna. How are y'all? So I want to talk about these Airbnbs because when I'm traveling full time, I'm pretty much staying in Airbnbs because I'm doing long term stays. I don't know if you all realize it, but when you stay in an Airbnb for a month, a lot of times it's cheaper than paying for a week or two. So even if I stay 3 weeks, I'm typically going to do a month, pay for a month for Airbnb. So, Airbnbs are really important for this travel life that we're doing when we're traveling full time. And lately, it has not been good. Not just traveling, but if you own an Airbnb, like it's been bad on the owner side, it's been bad on, the person that's staying in the Airbnb. So I don't know if you all saw this latest clip. I'm gonna share this clip. This is not my video clip. It is a clip that I saw on YouTube. And I was like, oh my God. So hold on just a second. And I am going to share this clip with y'all.
Yo, don't trust my Airbnbs. Okay, so I can't even talk right now. I'm so pissed off. Yeah, I didn't even know this shit could happen, but this shit is real. This shit's really going on. Goddamn, I caught myself trying to find a way to goddamn pay off my mortgage a little better, a little quicker, or whatever. So I put this ad out or whatever saying I was looking for someone to sub these one of the rooms in my house or whatever. It was gonna be supposed to be like this real smooth transaction, whatever. Went on vacation or whatever. The person was supposed to be gone 3 days prior to my return. So I'm talking to my housekeeper, whatever, XYZ. She's like, yo, that person is still here in your house. What do you mean they're still in my house? It's supposed to be gone. So when I get back and touch down in the city, this is still here in my house, okay? Refusing to leave. So I don't know what to do. I'm new to this shit. So I go down and I do up. There you go, y'all. Straight to the kitchen. I ain't going nowhere. So deal with it.
So y'all, this lady rented out her house as an Airbnb. This lady rents out her house as an Airbnb. She gets back to her house and the lady won't leave her house. She is now a squatter. She has called the police and basically the police told her that you can't put her out. Like you cannot put this woman out. She is now a tenant in your house. And she like, wait a minute. How can you sit here and tell me I rented my house through Airbnb, a whole international platform, and now you're trying to tell me that I can't put this woman out of my house? Like now she's a tenant. So y'all, she is literally living with this woman right now as we speak. The police and the police are supporting this right now. They are supporting this squatting situation. I don't know how long she stayed in the Airbnb. I don't know if it was a week, a month, or what, but they're saying she has to file legal eviction. The lady later on in the video is smoking in her house, and she's like, wait, what? How are you smoking in my house right now? And there's nothing they can do about it. Like, it doesn't even matter that it's an agreement, like through Airbnb. And Airbnb, I don't know that they're actually helping her. So, you imagine buying a house, and you live in you she lives in her house. She goes on vacation, she comes back. This lady has literally taken over her house. This woman is living in her house. She's paying $1,000 a month for Okay, I'm sorry. I think I blanked out for a minute. But for those of y'all that are just joining, we're talking about Airbnbs. And we're talking about this lady who rented out her house under Airbnb, and the person would not leave when she got back. She is an official squatter. The woman is disrespectful. She is smoking in her house. She told her, I don't care what you do. I don't care if you film me or not. I'm not leaving this house. The lady then goes in her room and she's like, the lady then goes in her room and she's like, don't come in my MF room. Don't come in here. This is my room. This is my space. Yes, she can use all of that. She has free range to her room, to the kitchen, to the bathroom, because she is now a tenant. So she has to go through the eviction process. And I don't know what state she lives in as far as the eviction process, but that can take a month or months to do. So this isn't the only thing that's going on with these Airbnbs. I know in Atlanta, they are now making it so that you can't have more than two Airbnbs, and one of them has to be your primary residence. So imagine if you already had 5 Airbnbs, y'all, what are you now supposed to do? So you got to make sure that you have this set up and you have this straight, because Airbnb doesn't care. April asks, is Airbnb backing her? I don't know what Airbnb is doing. I think they're probably telling her she has to go through her local enforcement, because you have to remember, Airbnb is just an entity to rent out your house. They had nothing to do with local enforcement. Like in that, how I was saying in Atlanta, now that you can't Airbnb more than 2 houses, they keep changing the date and pushing it back when that goes live. But you can't Airbnb in more than 2 houses. So what do you now do with this house? And that's the thing. People are getting these properties, but you need to have an out. You need to have more than just your one, okay, I'm going to do a short term rental. I'm going to Airbnb. You need to know your market. You need to know all of these different things so that if you can't Airbnb anymore, you can rent it. So, that's something you need to think about. Most of I'm doing a real estate class, a real estate for investing class that's coming up here soon. I'll post that link. Actually, it starts tomorrow. So I'm doing that. If you're interested in that, the real estate challenge, where it's a 5-day challenge that starts this week. So for those of you that's interested in real estate, this is something, to look into. But I mean, even outside of that, just being an owner, like that is so disrespectful. And the woman is very disrespectful, y'all. She's cursing at her, she's cursing back. I can't even imagine, So I kind of want to know how your experiences have been going with Airbnb, because yeah, I've been doing Airbnb since I left. I've been to Panama, Costa Rica, Colombia, Dominican Republic, and it's been going south. I'm going to be very honest. Like, I did one Airbnb where I got in really late. I got in at about 12 o'clock p.m. No, 12 o'clock in the morning. And I could not get into my Airbnb. Me and my son, we got in, we had a taxi, could not get into the Airbnb. The security guard, they didn't have us on the list. So we had to prove to him that I was supposed to stay there. I had to pull an email and everything. I don't speak fluent Spanish. At this time, I didn't really speak a whole bunch of Spanish at all. I had to prove to the security guard that I was supposed to stay there. Then when he actually finally let me in, I had to try to get into the property, and the lock that she had, like, y'all, I've done a lot of different locks, right? But the lock that she had was horrendous. The lock that she had, I couldn't get in. Like, the taxi tried to help me in, where, like, it's midnight, I'm with my son, we're trying to get into this lock, I gotta use the bathroom, my son has to use the bathroom. Y'all, I call Airbnb, right? And I'm like, I can't get in. They try to call the host. I try to call the host. Nothing. We get absolutely nothing. Airbnb tells me, y'all, like, by now it's like 12:45. They said, "Oh, well, why don't you go to a coffee shop while we try to get in touch with her over the next couple of hours?" I said, "Ma'am, it is almost 1 a.m. in the morning here in Columbia. There is no coffee shop open." I was like, "I'm a little funny about the neighborhood. Yeah, that's not an option." I was like, I can't stand out here any longer. I've already been out here for 30 minutes trying to get in this property. She's not answering. You all can't get in touch with her. I don't know what kind of lock this is. So literally, the taxi driver, luckily he didn't just drop me off, he stayed with me. The taxi driver literally drives me around Medellin, Colombia, and we are looking for a hotel room at this point, 1:30 a.m. in the morning, with my son, with my luggage, with his wheelchair. This taxi driver is driving me around. We go to different hotels. I can't find a hotel. Like, I don't know, all the hotels were full. It was Christmas season, which is huge in Medellin. Christmas in Medellin, Colombia is everything. So we're going around. We get to like the fifth or sixth hotel, and they finally are like, "We have a room." By this time it's like 1:30 in the morning. Airbnb decides to finally call me back an hour and a half later, and they're like, "Oh, we can't get in touch with her. Maybe you should find somewhere else to stay." You think? You think I should find somewhere else to stay at 1:30 in the morning when I can't get into my Airbnb? So I go to the hotel, I check into the hotel. Airbnb is like, "Well, we'll help you find somewhere else to stay." Well, they never actually helped me find anywhere else to stay. I had to find somewhere else to stay. I found another Airbnb. They did refund my money, however. They refunded my money. And I actually asked them, because I had to pay the taxi driver to drive me around. I had to pay the hotel. I could not get in. I actually asked Airbnb for my money back. I asked them to reimburse me for the hotel, and I asked them to reimburse me for the taxi. I don't know if that's something that they do, but closed mouths don't get fed. So I went ahead and asked. And that particular person actually did issue me a refund. They gave me money for my hotel for the night. And I'm gonna be honest, a hotel in Medellin is like $30 to $50 a night. So it's not expensive. And that was a very nice hotel with breakfast. But they gave me the money for my hotel, and they gave me the money for my taxi. The problem was, it's Christmas season, which is huge in Medellin. And finding an Airbnb, the Airbnb was expensive for Medellin, and the Airbnb also wasn't nice. Like, I was literally spraying because we had roaches. Like, we didn't have a whole bunch, but one is enough for me. But it was like there was nowhere else for me to go. So, and the guy would come and he would spray, but I'm like, "You spraying the same thing. Like, I guess you might as well leave it here." And that's what I experienced with Airbnb Medellin. um and they asked, "What are they doing to protect people?" That was them protecting me, was giving me my refund. When it comes to staying in an Airbnb, when it comes to renting out an Airbnb, yeah, I'm with you, T Marie. I don't know that they're helping these people. I don't know that they're helping at all. April says, "I think I'm going to go to rental route from and the investment standpoint, in the hotel route for my leisure travel." And I mean, that's kind of the thing. So when I do my rentals, I like to do the rental route because I like steady income. um Now, if you do Airbnb or short term rental, you make more money in quicker time. Like that's what that lady was doing. She was trying to make more money to pay off her mortgage quicker, thinking she'd make a bigger turnover. But you face some big issues when you do that. You face the issue like in Atlanta. What if they decide you can't have Airbnbs there anymore? What if you get a squatter? This is not the first video. This is not the first squatter. This is just the first one that's really gone viral. Bloomberg put out an article that said that Airbnb has been paying to cover up mistakes for a minute. They just pay people off, like they did with me in Medellin, Colombia. They paid for my taxi. They paid for they paid for my taxi, they paid for my hotel, but I mean the inconvenience of being outside at 1:30 in the morning. One thing I learned, I don't want to do any more late night flights, but a lot of Medellin flights are late night. And if I do, I'm going to a hotel, y'all. I got to be team hotel. What I've started doing lately is I started trying to find the Airbnb prior to, once I touched down. I've started trying to find my Airbnb. Then that way I'm not. So let me explain what I mean when I say I'm trying to find my Airbnb. So I get a hotel in the area. I look up Airbnbs. And then while I'm looking up Airbnbs, I actually go to those neighborhoods because some of these Airbnbs are not in nice neighborhoods. So I actually will go to the neighborhood, and while I'm in that particular neighborhood, I will ask the Airbnb owner, can I come and see the Airbnb? Like I'm a tenant looking for an apartment, because a lot of times I'm staying here for a month. I've had the Airbnb, like I said, that one Airbnb, it had roaches. Like it wasn't a lot, but like I said, one was enough for me. So I had to spray. Like I wasn't spraying at home because I didn't have no roaches. So I'm not trying to come pay you to spray. It had roaches. And then I stayed in another Airbnb. This one was in Dominican Republic, that I stayed in the Airbnb, and the host, he lied and told me that the internet was great. We have these speeds, and I contacted Airbnb, and when I contacted Airbnb, so Sam says she normally does hotels if it's super early or super late. Yeah, I learned that one. I learned that one by fire, not to do super early or super late. However, the Airbnb did know that I was coming in late. So it wasn't like, she didn't know that. Like I told her that. So this Airbnb that I did in Dominican Republic, I went there. I asked them about the internet. I didn't know to do the internet speed. So if you need internet, I tell you, download one of those apps so you can do the internet speed. The internet speed was bad. Then the wash machine didn't work, which he replaced right away. But it was like, if you replaced it right away, you probably knew that the wash machine didn't work. He listed that he had a microwave, but he didn't. So he ended up putting a microwave in. But the internet was horrible for me. That was a really bad thing because I had to work, and I mean there was nothing that he could do. The property was just located in a bad place for internet. Like when you went outside, there was internet, but there was none inside. So I contacted Airbnb, and I mean they just made the situation worse. They told me to let him know and see if he can rectify it, and if he didn't rectify it, they would give me my money back and help me find another Airbnb. Well, y'all, that's what I did. He wasn't able to rectify it. However, what he did was he did a shot of the internet access outside the apartment, showing that it was great internet. I sent them a shot of the internet access inside the apartment. Well, they went along with him with the internet access outside the apartment. And they basically said I was lying. And from that point on, that man was verbally abusive. Like he was like he I mean the stuff that he said to me, I was so uncomfortable. I wouldn't even stay in the Airbnb the whole time. I would have people come and stay with me, or I went out to another area of the island. Like it was a bunch of back and forth. He was very verbally abusive. He would just the things he would say. I contacted Airbnb. They did nothing to help me. Like they were just like, oh, there's nothing we can do because you already filed a complaint about the internet. I was like, well, this isn't about the internet. This is about the fact that this man is sending me messages through your platform that are demeaning and abusive. And like they did nothing. They didn't help me at all. And then in the end, he filed a complaint and said that I was one that was abusive towards him. And they called me on it. And I was like, but y'all never once contacted him. And that just really put a bad taste in my mouth. I was like, I don't really want to do Airbnbs like that anymore. It was a lot for me. Edna said, what were the reviews like? The reviews were actually good. Mind you, he only had 2 reviews. So that's the other thing. I think, when you're using these newer Airbnbs or they only have 2 or 3 reviews, you got to look at that too. The Airbnb that I'm in now, like it's okay, but there's things here that need to be upgraded. Well, I've made friends with one of the residents here, and she was like, oh, is the TV still messed up? Did they fix the washing machine? And I was like, I'm thinking, well, how does she know that all of these things are messed up? But she said the people before them said they were messed up. However, since this property has a 5-star review, they didn't want to mess up their review. So that's the other thing. Like if they have these great reviews, people are kind of like, oh, I don't want to be the person to mess up your review, just because of this, that, and the other. So, the TV that may be a little messed up or the washing machine not working may not be huge if you're only staying for a weekend or you're only staying for a week. But when you're staying for a month, that's big. That's really big. Um, he said in the UK and on 2 occasions there was a host and I found it uncomfortable in the way I wasn't able to use the kitchen. On the first one, the lady was funny, not really friendly or chatty. I just find that in these Airbnbs, you just don't know what you're going to get. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, what my thing is, what are the other options? Like, I know you can do hotels, but if you're staying a week or two, do you want to do hotels? Like, is that something that you want to do? Barely articulating, she said, I've heard horror stories. The few that I have are pretty good. And before that was the case, I hadn't really had any horror stories until I kind of started. I would say my worst have been here in the Dominican Republic. So I don't know if it's a Dominican Republic. With the one that I stayed in where the guy was verbally abusive, he was actually French. So he actually owned a property here and he didn't live in the Dominican Republic. However, he had people on the ground that lived here, and the people that were here, they were very nice. The people that were local, it was really just him that was not really nice. And Sam says it's so true. People are too nice about reviews. I agree because if you go on a Google search or you go on TripAdvisor or even if you go on the hotel search, you find that when it comes to reviews, people are more honest. It's something about being on Airbnb where they're not as honest as they would be in that circumstance, and that hurts other people. It definitely hurts when you're trying to schedule your Airbnb. And Sam Brooks, traveling Sam Brooks, she's going to be on in a little bit to talk to us about how to choose the best Airbnb, because it's getting a little rough out here. Like, for me, I'm like, I don't even really want to do Airbnbs anymore. I'm going to Africa later this year, and I'm trying to find other ways to do bookings, because I'm like, do I really want to still do Airbnbs? Like, what are some of the other platforms? Edna says I have encountered that in some platforms. People are afraid or insecure of giving honest reviews, but that just keeps the problem hitting other people. And I agree, because that's exactly what has happened. Like, so when I gave my review, I'm still very respectful. But I do give an honest review. And when I give my reviews, I do a good and a bad. I talk about the good things about the property. I talk about the bad things about the property, because otherwise you're kind of just setting everybody else up for failure. Are you all using anything else? Like, I know we have the hotels that we go to, when there's short stays, but it's kind of hard to do a hotel for a month. Now, I do remember in some platforms, someone had told me what they do with the hotels is they go and they stay in the hotels for a short period of time. So they may stay for a couple of days, and then they let them know, well, I want to stay in the hotel for a month. So what they do is they actually talk to the hotel manager, and then they negotiate a lower rate. So I don't know. So what are you all doing? Are you all has anyone tried that, where you go in the hotel and you negotiate a lower rate? Like, have you tried that? And then I saw, so tell me about that. And then I saw another one where I know people do VRBO. My experience in the past was that VRBO was so expensive, though. VRBO was really, really pricey. So that's why I hadn't done VRBO. So tell me, what do you think about that? Let's see. Nurse T Marie, she said she had the best Airbnb experience in Jamaica. And in Jamaica, all my hosts have been amazing, unlike experiences in the States. Wow. So maybe it is location. Oh, sorry. Maybe it is location based, because my worst experiences have been here in the Dominican Republic. The Colombia one, I think it's because I got there late, right? But my worst experiences have been in the Dominican Republic, whereas Nurse T Marie says her best experiences have been in Jamaica. Edna says she tried to negotiate hotel prices in Portugal and Cape Verde. Can you tell us how that worked? Like, how did you go about trying to negotiate those prices, and how did that go? Like, did you get the price that you wanted? How does that work? Because maybe that's something me and my son will look into, because I'm scared to get an Airbnb in Kenya, y'all. Like, I'm not trying to go all the way to Kenya, and yeah, I just don't know. I've never been to Africa. I don't know how many of you all know, but I'm going to Africa, and I will be there for months. I'm actually doing a tour, African tour. Well, I call it my own African tour. I'm going from Egypt to Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania. I'm making it all the way down to South Africa. So we'll definitely be staying, I guess, in Airbnbs. I'm trying to find some other ways. I don't know. Maybe y'all can help me with that. Is this a it it is a thing you do over in those countries, because they were late with the room or they changed the room, okay, to negotiate the hotel prices? So I guess, have you tried to negotiate the prices for long term stays, like for 2 weeks or a month? Edna says, I often got a lower price, but when it's high season, it will take a good argument. Okay, all right. Um, what it do, DG? Hey, how are you? Y'all gotta check out her channel as well. Our experience in Cancun was good for the most part. One of the locations lost power and the host failed to communicate this, but we were able to be reimbursed and find another location. Okay, so that's good. So maybe it's just location dependent. So I shouldn't be scared when I go to Africa, y'all. Because it sounds like everybody else is having fairly decent experiences, and Airbnb is reimbursing. So what it do, DG? Let me ask you this: how long ago was that experience? Because I think what people are finding is that Airbnb is slipping lately. Like it's been this year. Like I didn't have these experiences. Like I said, when I was in Colombia, Airbnb reimbursed me for my taxi and my hotel, right? So when I was in Colombia, they were doing well, but that was last year. This year has been when I've had the issue with Airbnb and when other people have been starting to notate issues with Airbnb. So I'm curious, like, was that this year or was that prior to this year? Because I don't know. I'm definitely wondering about that. Like, when are you having these issues? Let's see. It was April. Okay. We were there for a week and did three different locations. Now, did you do three different locations because you had issues, or were you just kind of bopping around and you wanted to do three different locations? I know you said that one of the locations, the power went out, which I think is kind of typical in Mexico. That the power goes out. It's supposed to come back on though. Like that may be a problem. Like it goes out, but it's supposed to come back on. Okay, so you were bopping around. Okay, so it wasn't like anything was wrong with the Airbnb. You were bopping around. Yeah, I know here in Dominican Republic, like some of your Airbnbs, you actually pay for your electricity. And y'all, I had the gas go out. I didn't know gas went out. So I was cooking and then the stove didn't turn back on. And my friend, he was like, "Yeah, so you're out of gas." I'm like, "What do you mean I'm out of gas? Like I'm cooking. I don't understand that concept of being out of out of gas." But there's actually a propane gas tank and they have to refill the propane gas tank. So I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a thing." I didn't know we had to refill the gas tank. So that was interesting to me. Let me see. So what did do, DG? She says we were supposed to be there on a retreat that got canceled, so we just decided to have a good time. I'm sure you did in Cancun. I'm going to Cancun for the Exodus Summit. I'm not sure if any of you all are going to Cancun for that, but I'm going to Cancun for the Exodus Summit. So I can imagine you had a good time. Sorry, y'all. So I can imagine you had a good time there. So I'm going to ask Miss Sam Brooks to join us. I think this is a good segue. So I'm gonna wait for her to join us so she can give us some tips on how to find the perfect Airbnb. So while I'm waiting on her to join, I want you all to tell me, like, what have your experiences been? Because my experiences have not been all bad in the Airbnbs. I have had some good experiences. I had a great experience when I went to Texas and to San Antonio. It was really nice, just beautiful. I've had some good experiences when I've gone, to different places. As far as renting Airbnb, when I first left the States, when I went to Panama and Costa Rica, I actually did rent out my house on Airbnb. I put it up and I only chose to do people that were staying at least 3 weeks. So I did want long term stays. I had someone that stayed for a little over a month for my Airbnb. And it did well. It went well. Now she did break the washing machine. So when I say well, well is relative. I don't know what she did. I think she tried to put a comforter in there. And that's how she ended up breaking the washing machine. Um, so my experience with that, when Airbnb said you had to let her know about it, which she did know because she contacted me, and you had to let her know the price of it, and she got upset. And at that point, that's when she gave me a bad review. Like up until that point, we were great. I helped her find a job. I helped her, locate places for a house. But once she broke the washing machine and put the hole in the wall, she no longer was my friend. and she ended up giving me a bad review. So with that, with me Airbnb in my own house, what she did at that point was she Airbnb actually paid for it. So I had to submit the damages to Airbnb. They paid for the price of the washing machine and they took away depreciation, which was fine. And they paid for the price to get the hole in the wall fixed. So my experience being an Airbnb host wasn't bad. Other than like other hosts say, if somebody damages something, then they're going to give you a bad review because they did damage it. And now, honestly, you don't have to pay for it. Airbnb actually comes with insurance. So if, like, say you were a guest, if you ever damaged something in the house, the Airbnb insurance actually pays for anything that you damage. You technically don't have to pay for anything that you damage. But this was her first time using an Airbnb. Airbnb asked her if she felt like she should pay for it. She said, no, I don't want to pay for it. So Airbnb in turn paid for it. So I think with it being her first time being a guest, she didn't realize that. But a lot of hosts, what they'll do is they'll wait until the window closes for you to leave a review and then they'll report damages. So that's something to keep in mind if you do want to be an Airbnb host, is that you do have that insurance policy, and that insurance policy will allow you to get to report those damages and you get paid. I think it's up to $100,000. With my partners, we actually did an Airbnb as well. And for that Airbnb, oh my goodness, we had so many damages, y'all. It was ridiculous. That was in Alabama, and I'm gonna tell you, it was in a, as we labeled it, subprime neighborhood. And y'all, they would steal stuff out the Airbnb. They would steal toilet. Like one time, they stole the toilet paper, the paper towels. Like I was like, really? They would take. I mean, they would take all the coffee pods. So after a while, we didn't even put the thing up anymore. We didn't even replace the coffee pods. They broke the. I mean, they broke the setup where the TV sits. They broke the couch. I think they broke the bed. Like we had so, I think we made more money off of claims than we did Airbnb renting out our property. And so for you all that are looking at renting out Airbnb, I don't know that I would rent out my house. If you have a spare room, but be very careful about that. So now I'm going to bring Sam Brooks on. She is traveling with Sam, and she is a mom that travels full time with her. She travels full time with her son. He's a toddler. Hi, Sam. How are you? Are you able to hear me?
Okay, so sorry.
Hey, are you
I
able
can
to?
hear you now. Sorry. Is there a bunch
Okay,
of feedback? I apologize. Okay,
okay.
so sorry.
There's no feedback
Oh,
on
there's a
my
delay.
end.
Hear you now. Sorry. Is there a bunch of feedback? I apologize.
You may have to turn down whatever else you're on and
Okay.
cut that podcast off from the phone. You may have to turn down whatever else you're on and cut that podcast
I'm so sorry.
off. That's okay. Tell me when you're able to hear me. Sorry, y'all. We're having a little
So sorry.
difficulty.
Okay, I'm
Yes,
sorry. What was the first question?
hold on. Yes, Edna, they did. They broke it. They broke the couch. They broke the bed. They've broken all kinds of stuff in our
I'm
Airbnb.
sorry.
At
What was
this
the first
point, we've
question?
actually closed down that Airbnb. It just became too much of a headache. It wasn't. After a while, it just wasn't worth the hassle. And it's hard to manage an Airbnb. You're constantly on the phone. So in the future, I would choose to do guesty and manage the Airbnb that way with guesty, because it just took a lot of work. Sam, are you able to hear me? Can you turn down or mute your other whatever else you're on? Sam, are you able to hear me? Can you turn down or mute your other whatever else you're on?
I don't have an extra headphones, so I can't hear you otherwise.
Okay.
Unless you want to text me the questions.
Okay. I'm not sure. Okay. So let's see. So Sam travels full time with her son. If you could tell us where you are right now, Sam, and a little bit about your experience traveling with your son. And I know you said you're an expert at the Airbnb Summer 2022 update. So tell us a little bit about that. And I know you said you're an expert at the Airbnb Summer 2022 update. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I'm a single mom. My name is Amelia. My son's name is Sam, and we travel the world full time. We are in Airbnbs 365 days a year. We do have, we do have hotel stays, like we mentioned earlier in the live, that if there's like a really late flight or a really early flight or something, I might do a hotel stay for one night, but otherwise we are 100% in Airbnbs. We've been in 4 different countries, so Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and we're in Santiago, Chile right now. And so we stay like months at a time. We were in Quito, Ecuador. We stayed there for 6 months. We were in the same Airbnb for 6 months. So it was kind of like just a regular rental. But yeah, so that's our deal. And I'm like 1,000% all about price. And so we actually did a whole YouTube video on our price of like how much we spent in our first year traveling abroad. And it came out to just around $1,400 a month. And that included everything, the Airbnb, the travel, the tickets, the planes, all that stuff. So we're really frugal. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that we love using Airbnb, because it's super cheap, at least where we go, and we are able to negotiate and stuff like that.
Okay. So how do you choose your Airbnbs, and tell us about the negotiation, because I don't negotiate and I'm spending more money than you are. So I need to know how to be frugal to that point. Negotiation, because I don't negotiate and I'm spending more money than you are. So I need to know how to be frugal to that point. I don't negotiate.
Sure. So when we are, when we're looking at a new place, well, first of all, because I'm a mom and you're probably the same way, I never use those shared spaces. No. So I'm not using any of the shared places. I'm always in your own place, whether it's a guest house or an apartment or whatever. But what I do is I like literally just use the filters for the price that I want. And a lot of times that dictates what neighborhood I'm in. Though I will do a little bit more research. A big secret, if you're trying to find like super cheap Airbnbs, is to reset all your filters and drill down, like make the map really big. So you're actually down at like the block by block level. That will show you more Airbnbs, because obviously, depending on where you go, but in most places, there's a lot more supply than demand. And so even with the regular filters, you're not going to see all of the different Airbnbs that are available. So if you drill down to like a specific block, you're going to see listings that aren't normally shown. And those tend to be cheaper because they don't usually get a lot of attention. So that's one hack to get cheaper places. And then the other thing you were asking about negotiating, you just straight up negotiate. You send them a message through the app and say, in our case, I'll say like, oh, we travel all the time. I have like 15 good reviews. I could talk about that. But I say like, we're going to be there for 6 weeks. I see you guys don't have a monthly discount, but we want to stay for 6 weeks. Would you be open to that? Or I see you have a monthly discount, but I also know that it's like shoulder season. So maybe we can do something because I know that it's not a busy time of year. So you just like literally in the profile, it says message the host. That's when I start the negotiation and I just ask them. But a lot of times I don't negotiate, but it is definitely an option.
So let me ask you, when you asked about the negotiation, have you ever had someone not want to rent to you because you did try to negotiate? Because that's always my fear. Have you ever had someone not want to rent to you because you did try to negotiate? Because that's always my fear.
Ooh, good question. I've never had anybody deny me ever, like ever, about any of it, ever. So if I've asked for a negotiation, sometimes they'll say no to my negotiation, but they'll have never said no to me renting to them.
Okay. Okay. Now tell us about the 1400. Is that 1400 a month? And you said that's travel expenses, including flights. Tell us a little bit about what 1400 looks like, because that sounds amazing. Because my budget is 1400 for the Airbnb itself a month. So I need to trade my budget with yours. Because my budget is 1400 for the Airbnb itself a month.
Holy guacamole. No. $1,400 a month is everything. The plane ticket, the passports, the food, the walking around money, the everything. I daily spend absolutely everything. Like I said, I'll send you guys, I'll look for a link and I'll send it to you guys, but it's everything is what we spend. I spend now in Santiago, Chile is a little bit more expensive than some of the other cities we've been in. And we are staying specifically in capital cities. So Bogota, Quito, Lima, and now here in Santiago. And we stay inside that one capital city for the duration, the 90 days or 180 days if we get an extension. And so, $1,400 just for the place, I would be staying in amazing Airbnbs. Just $1,400 is absolutely everything. Toys, clothes, like my entire life.
Okay. What other places have you stayed in where you can stay under this budget? Because my Airbnb in Colombia from Medellin was $1,250, and that was the one that I told you that wasn't even that nice. My Airbnb, but that was during Christmas, was $1,250, and that was the one that I told you that wasn't even that nice. My Airbnb, but that was during Christmas.
Sam, hold on, Bubba.
Sorry for the feedback. I'm gonna wait for her to start talking. Okay.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Okay, are you able to hear me? So I was asking, how do you tell us?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Because when I stayed in Medellin, I paid $1,250. However, that wasn't Christmas.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Sorry. My kid was sleeping and he's not sleeping anymore. So we were in Bogota, not Medellin. Simonito, go outside, my love. Come on, outside.
Y'all know we're all moms, so.
Right this second, I'm actually in Santiago, Chile. But when we were in Bogota, I'm trying to think. I was renting a one bedroom for it's like $600.
Okay.
I was renting in Bogota.
One bedroom.
Okay. And that was pretty awesome actually, because that was our first time being international. That was my first time first time Sam and I used our passports. Like I didn't travel before I had Sam, so it was such an amazing experience. But it was just a tiny one bedroom in Bogota, Colombia, and it was just we got there in April and we left in July, so it was during the big protests, but it was a kind of a busier area, so we actually had protesters walking across in front of our apartment, but we were perfectly safe. The protests were crazy if you were there at the time, but as an American, I don't want to get like crazy off topic, but the embassy just tells you, like, they send you a little email every day. This is like, here's where the protests are. Don't go there. This is
Yeah.
where you need to not be, and that kind of stuff. So it was super fun. Every day, this is like, here's where the protests are. Don't go there. This is where you need to not be, and that kind of stuff.
So my next question is, what do you do to pick out your Airbnb? You told us about how you use the filter to decide what area and what street to stay on. But what other things do you look at? And I heard you say you do a 1 bedroom. I normally do a 2 bedroom because I just like my own space and I don't like to sleep with my son. So I'd rather just pay a little bit extra to put him in his own room. But what other things do you do that to help you pick out the perfect Airbnb?
Great question. So one of the things that so I really love co-sleeping, and this is something that I talk about a lot on my channel, is that hosts are not marketers. And so what happens is, because people can become hosts and they don't really have any real training. And so when I'm reading reviews or when I'm picking places, I always remember in the back of my mind, I'm a marketer, but the person writing this profile isn't. So a lot of times what happens, because we like 1 bedrooms, because we co-sleep, is I'll see a 1 bedroom or a studio apartment, and at the bottom there'll be like house rules, and it'll say not suitable for kids or not suitable for infants. And so everything else looks great. I'm looking in the pictures for a bathtub, the different things that I want, but then I'll see a thing from the host that says no kids. And so I message them and I say, why? And usually it's because in their head, they're thinking like kids mean 2 people, like a 2-people couple and an extra bed. So they think like that's why it's not for kids. Or they think that like if they don't have kids, they might think like all kids make a huge mess. And so in my case, I'll say something like, oh, well, I have these great reviews about how I leave the place clean and yada, yada, yada. So that helps me too. But as far as like picking the exact spot, I like to double up my tabs and have Airbnb up and then have Google Maps up, and I see like where the parks are and the different green spaces, because we spend every single day outside, and so I want to see that kind of stuff. And I also spend a lot of time looking at all the different pictures, because like right now we have a balcony, but it has a lock. So Sam is perfectly safe, even though normally he would not be able to go play on a balcony by himself, right? But it's got a lock and a window and all that stuff. And so I really just spent a lot of time looking at the different pictures. And then I read the actual profile, because Karen's, I don't know if that's an appropriate term, but Karen's show, because they're like, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that and blah, blah, blah. Like if I see anything like that, I go, skip, I'm not interested. I'm not here to do it. I have my own job. I don't need that job, right? So I read the reviews like that, but I don't, there's a lot of like red flags to Airbnb. I've heard a lot of people say like a super low price is a red flag, or really bad pictures are a red flag, or that kind of stuff. Those aren't really red flags to me, because it could just be a person who doesn't know anything about marketing. They don't know that they're supposed to take good pictures. They don't know that they're not supposed to do that stuff. So that's one of the other things I look at. But another one thing that is actually a red flag as I'm going through profiles is if they have any of those automated reviews. If you've gone to Airbnb enough, you've seen them where they say this host canceled 6 days before my whatever. That's a big one. If I see that, I'm like, no. But those people can't become Airbnb superhosts anyway. So a lot of times I do. If it's my first stay in a new city, I will pick a superhost. But once I've been in a city and I'm just going, staying in another place in the same city, I don't worry about superhost so much.
Okay.
But once I've been in a city and I'm just going, staying in another place in the same city, I don't worry about superhost so much.
Okay.
But once I've been in a city and I'm just going, staying in another place in the same city.
some notes over here, and I wanted to ask you. So you said if you've seen that they have some cancellations, that's a red flag for you. And I've actually never looked at that as a red flag if they just have one or two cancellations. What other red flags? Because you said the bad pictures are not a red flag, and you also said that a low price is not a red flag. So what's another red flag we should look at when we're booking? Red flag. So what's another red flag we should look at when we're booking?
Yeah, because a low price could just be like, honestly, they don't know what they're doing. I've done this before where I saw like a crazy, like $50 for a place in Merrimack Caverns. And I messaged the person like, do you know that it says this? And they're like, oh, we don't know how the app works, blah. So sometimes they're just not tech savvy. Sometimes it's because you have, something going on in the area. When we were still traveling around the US, I got an Airbnb with like an 89% monthly discount. And I was like, what is this? So I reached out to them. And what I didn't realize is that it was this teeny tiny little college town, and she never gets any bookings over the summer. So we ended up staying there for 3 months and having it was this cute little place. And we had this great big yard and all sorts of stuff for like, I think it was only $700 a month. But that's because she wasn't going to get a booking otherwise. So price is never an issue, but the Karen talk, any kind of sassy talk, to me, I don't have time for it. So if you see anything in the profile that's like, I know people are trying to get away with blah, or like any of that negative energy, I don't need any of that. So I just skip it. I feel really empowered doing Airbnb, that I can be, because I only stay in places that have more supply than they need. And so that's one of the things that I enjoy, that I like, I'll just skip it. Just anything that irks me, skip it. So a lot of it is what they actually write in their profile. Now about the pictures, again, this could just be a marketing thing, but if it's a really, really good, like fancy photo and there's only one or two or three, that's a red flag, because that's weird. That's a weird combination to have like a really good fancy photo and nothing. Another thing is just to go ahead and read all the reviews. I know that seems basic, but we were talking earlier in the live about how people are too nice. They really are. So if you see anything where someone's like, oh, they're really nice, and they say like one bad thing and then they say another nice thing, that is a super nice person trying to like wave the red flag, don't stay here. So really read between the lines in those reviews. They're saying that is a super nice person trying to like.
Okay. So those are good tips. Now, another thing is you said that you clean afterwards. So I don't know. I'm really funny about the whole Airbnb thing, because sometimes these cleaning rates are like $200. So I tend to like kind of straighten up the place a little bit, but I'm not doing a whole lot of sweeping and mopping before I leave. Like, what is your take on how much you clean? Like, I'm like, oh, we had breakfast, we got to get out of here. Sometimes I'll just leave maybe a couple of dishes. Should I make sure I'm cleaning all of the dishes? Am I sweeping, mopping? Am I stripping the beds? Like, what are you doing, and how do you keep your reviews so sparkling? How do you keep your reviews?
Yeah, great question. So I clean more than I would, because I do this full time, and I would be totally screwed if I got a bad review. So I'm more particular than I would be normally. In fact, I'm not a super clean person just in general. And I've had this situation. Actually, I have another whole YouTube video about like Airbnb hosts spying on you, because I've had that situation where the host will show up because I'm not a good housekeeper and they don't like the way I'm keeping their house, because I don't do a lot of deep cleaning until before I leave. Yeah, I know the spying thing always seems kind of scary. I could talk about that in a second, but like quick ways to check if you have a host spying on you. But the cleaning thing, what I do now, I overlap my stays because I got a kid. So I like to get everything done and clean and ready. And then I like to leave at like 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning to go to the next Airbnb. So I always double book that last night so that because I'm too early for the check-in for the next place. And it also like makes them like me a little bit more because I paid an extra night. And when you're only paying like $20 a night, it's not a big deal. So I double book that, or I overbook that, double book that last night. So I get everything clean the last few days, pack everything up. I sweep. I don't start laundry. A lot of the places that I stay in don't have a washing machine, but I do strip the bed. I don't do a lot of cooking, so there's not a lot of dishes, but I have all of our stuff, and we travel the world with 2 duffel bags and a backpack, so we don't have that much stuff anyway. But I sweep it all up, and I leave the dirty towels and the bed and everything just in a big pile, and then we hit the road. And I'm always really big about letting the host know when I'm leaving. And so those little tiny like over communications that some people don't do really helps you stand out. And I've had great reviews because of it. Like over communications that some people
really good to know, because I'm like, well, I did some cleaning, I did some straightening up. And, I'm like, but I paid a cleaning fee, so they should go ahead and do the rest of the cleaning. So I need to start doing more cleaning when I leave. The other thing you talked about, the super host, and you stay with the super host, but then after you've been staying for a while, you don't stay with the super host necessarily. So can you tell us about that? And also, can you tell us, after your first month, do you continue to book through Airbnb, or do you book direct? After my first month, I normally start booking direct, and then I normally just pay them through like PayPal or something like that. So tell me a little bit about that. And Tracy said you are winning with the 2 duffel bags and backpacks. I'm trying to get there. I'm still team 2, 3, 4, 5 bags. I have a video where I travel with a ton of stuff.
So I always pay everything through Airbnb, 100% all the time. I never want to have money between me and a person. I'm just weird that way. And we stay in lots of different countries, and I never know what the rules are. So I just 1,000% always through Airbnb. I don't like to have any of that stuff. What was the other question? Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot. Always through Airbnb. I don't like to have any of that stuff. What was the other question? Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot. Always through Airbnb. I don't like to have any of that.
Do you have that about the super host? Wait, everybody's congratulating the teacher print. Let's go have that about the super host.
Oh yes, Superhost. So sorry, that's what I forgot. So Superhost, the reason why I picked Superhost is because I had mentioned before how some people, there's no training. People that are Superhosts have to put in a little bit more effort than everybody else, and so that tells me just a little bit about their desire to be on the platform and be a good host. And so if it's my first time in a country, I definitely want to stay with a Superhost, but they do tend to be more expensive. So after I stay in a country for 1 month, then when I'm booking, month 2 or month 3 or whatever, that's when I start looking at the other places, because I'm also more comfortable with like what area I want to be in and different stuff like that. So that's why I pick Superhost for my first time, and then after that. But I don't do, like I said, sometimes I see like for rent or whatever kind of signs, but I'm not an expat. I am a perpetual tourist, so I stick straight to Airbnb, and I don't want to be, and my Spanish is not nearly good enough to do negotiating anyway, like in person.
I like that. You're a perpetual.
I don't want to be looking.
Okay, I like that. So, what else? What else?
I like that.
Do you feel like we need to know to book the perfect Airbnb and to have a great experience and to have these wonderful reviews going forward?
Well, the biggest thing is to remember what kind of traveler you are, like what your deal is, how your perfect day goes. If you are young and you want to go party and you want to meet some guys, then your life is very different than mine. Because Sam and I just go to the park every day, and we're very, I like to use public transportation, get an authentic experience, but like I'm inside by 7 o'clock anywhere. It tickles me when people complain about quiet hours. I'm like, I'm almost 40. I have my own quiet hours. What are you talking about? It never bothers me. So, to have the best experience, you want to spend that time, thinking about what is it that I want to do? Because if you want to spend all your time in the city center, then why would you get a place that's far away and you're going to have to pay either Uber or get used to public transit or something like that? The way we live is I like to have a green space. I also do YouTube videos like at parks and different things like that. So I'm really, I spend a lot of time checking out where my locations are. I'm also on Instagram. So, we had this really great booking in Lima, Peru, where we were like literally across the street from the congressional building. So I had this amazing reel where it was like, here's my Airbnb. And then out the window was this magical building. I would not get that if I wasn't a social media person. So you have to think about like what you're going to be doing in your Airbnb, what your day-to-day life is, and then, look for those specific things that are unique to you and your family so you have the best experience.
So I like that because I'm a like bougie budget traveler. Like I'm really funny. So I have to have a washing machine. I've gotten used to not having a dryer and hanging my laundry outside. I like to have a pool. Like, because my son likes to swim, so I like a beach. I like a pool. But that's probably why I'm not sticking to your $1,400 because I'm a little too bougie budgeter for that. But I think I can definitely do better. I don't know about you all, but I've learned a lot. I learned that even though we pay a cleaning fee, I think that's huge for me. I need to actually clean up. I straighten up, but I don't clean up. I actually need to clean up. Sam also said that we need to pay attention to some of these red flags and remember what kind of traveler you are. I'm also a person where I like to jump on public transportation. So I like to make sure transportation is available. Now, Sam, if we're visiting a new city and we haven't been there before, is it acceptable for us to ask questions to the host? And if so, like, are there too many questions? Should we just be Googling our information? How was your interaction with the host? Information. How was your interaction with the host?
Oh, this is also such a good question because I am a smidgen on the rude side, but I let people know about it. In my profile on Airbnb, I have I over communicate. There is a novel on there about me and my kid, and I have a list of like 12 things where I think a host would want to know this about us, and I tell them things like, we're going to move your stuff, but we're going to move it back before we leave. I go in with a video camera and I look because I have a 5-year-old and I'm all about letting him do his own thing. So I make sure that none of your fancy stuff gets broken. And I talk about quiet hours. I let them know that I never, ever, ever, ever have people over, guests, like even nice people from church. So if they ever see anyone in or near the apartment when I'm not there, you call the police because I didn't invite them. I tell them all different kinds of stuff. And one of the things I say is, I don't want to be rude, but I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to meet you. I'd rather not meet you. We do this tourist thing for a living, and learning the different stuff on our own is kind of our whole deal. So keep your recommendations to yourself. God bless you, but no thanks. So I don't do a lot of communicating, and I kind of let them know ahead of time that that's me. But that's one of the things about Airbnb. Some people like it, some people don't. I had this very sweet older woman just recently here in Santiago, and her daughter, because her Spanish is really bad, so her daughter would message me and she goes, my grandmother saw your thing about how you don't like to communicate, but she wants to bring you some pears. And I was like, oh, still not going to change it, but I'll take the pears. So, um, yeah, I think that some people like that, and you'll get that from their profile because they'll say like, "Oh, we love to meet tourists and foreigners and blah blah." And sometimes I go, "I don't want to book with them." You'll also see that a lot in the reviews because you'll get like, "Oh, this person came by and brought me stuff every other day," and I'm like, "Oh, no, thank you. I don't want that in my life. I don't have a mother-in-law for a reason." So that's part of my deal. But yeah, that's a big one, is the reading the actual reviews, letting them know. And so I would just spend the time Googling. Here's another great just general tourist tip for anyone that's going to a new country is we as Americans are really blessed and a little entitled with Google. We take it for granted that there's always reviews and it's always accurate and all that stuff. And that's because we are a population that feeds into Google. So we can go to places and see when it's open. And if it's not open, someone's going to post it and Google's going to check. That's not true around the world. So if you go to a new city, one of the things you can do before you leave is to go on Google and just literally look at reviews and see like how recent they are, how many there are at big places and small places, because that allows you to know that Google is dependable or not dependable in this specific city, which is a big deal because it can be such a headache when you show up somewhere and it's not open. And then you check Google and go, "Oh, they've never had a review because nobody uses Google here." Ugh, this happened to me in Quito, Ecuador. Oh, so annoying. Oh, they've never.
I love that advice. So, that section that she said on your Airbnb profile, I only have a sentence or two. It's just like, I travel full time with my kid. I'm charisma. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't have any information. So I think that's really good because the same way we're looking at their profile, they're looking at our profile. So my son uses crutches and he has a wheelchair. So it would be good for me to put that in there because most of the times we're traveling together. And then that would help me, with just communicating that information. And, like you said, let them know I don't have a mother-in-law for a reason. I love that because, me and my mother-in-law, we didn't get along, my ex-mother-in-law. So I don't have one for a reason either. So I love that. What other information do you share with them about yourself, your situation? Because I started wondering, is it wise for me to share that I'm a single mother staying with my son? Is that a safety issue? And also, how do you know when people are spying on you? With my son, is that a safety? With my son, is that a
Okay, so with the review, or your profile, it's important to know that hosts do not see your profile unless you have requested to book or you want to book. So you are not writing for the masses. That's one of the reasons that you can be more over communicative, because we can search and look at their profile, but nobody can search and look at ours. It's not like having a profile on Facebook. So that's a big thing to know, that you should be writing your profile for potential hosts because they're the only ones that are going to see it. Now, the spying, lots of great tips here. The first thing to do if you suspect that there might be a camera or you just want to is turn all the lights off, get your phone out, turn on the flashlight, and go all around the apartment and all the different places to see if you can see a glare back from the camera, because we know those camera lenses can be super, super tiny now, but even the tiniest camera lens will put back a glare. So again, turn all the lights off and just go around your apartment with your camera light and see if you see any glares back. If you suspect that there is a camera, one of the quick things you can do is just turn off the Wi-Fi, because the camera is likely attached to the Wi-Fi. So if you turn the Wi-Fi off and you unplug it, and then you get a message in like 30 minutes, like, "Oh, you're having a problem with the Wi-Fi?" Like, well, how do you know that? That is a big and easy one to do. Another one, yeah, they also have like scanners. You can buy scanners and things like that. That seems like too much issue for me. And honestly, for me, the spying isn't necessarily with a camera. It's usually like just a nosy neighbor. We had a place in Quito, Ecuador, where the windows didn't have the best drapes. And I didn't realize we're on like the fourth floor of an apartment, and the apartment was like owned by somebody's cousin or sister-in-law or something like that. And the the host showed up one day just randomly, and I realized it was people looking in my windows or talking, like looking around me while they were talking to me because they were being nosy. You don't know if that nosy neighbor is somebody's sister, somebody's cousin, somebody's whatever, and then they're reporting back, because in my case, I'm a messy housekeeper. Like, I clean before I leave, but I don't clean a lot while I'm living in it.
Okay. Those are amazing tips. I don't know if y'all are taking notes. I'm taking notes because Amelia is dropping gems over here that I'm gonna have my flashlight out. I'm gonna unplug the Wi-Fi. I'm doing all of that. What was the other? So we have another question. So, do you both feel confident in the cleanliness of Airbnbs? Do you do any cleaning upon your arrival? So, I sometimes do some cleaning when I come in. I definitely do disinfecting. I'll have disinfectant wipes where I wipe down a lot of different surfaces and I look at everything. Um, I clean my dishes before I use them. I'm a cooker. So I cook a lot. We eat out on weekends, but I'm working sometimes. So I definitely cook a lot. So I got to make sure all those things are available. So I clean that because they're just regular housekeepers. They're not doing any deep hot water housekeeping, up to certain temperatures like they do in hotels. What's been your experience, Amelia? Hot water housekeeping. What's been your experience, Amelia? Hot water, house.
I don't clean when I show up. That's not something I care about. I think now people are so, like, sometimes they'll show up and they've done something very special because of COVID, and they like wrap stuff up and they do something, and I go, oh, that's so nice, but it's just not a high priority for me. And I'm part of the $1,400 everyone seems so amazed by is that, like, we eat out like almost 100% of the time, but of course it's street vendors and stuff like that. I mean, food is just cheaper in South America and the way that we live. I mean, I'm a big lady, so I eat more than most people, but I've got a 5-year-old that eats like nuggets every other day, so that's it. We live. I mean,
okay. So that's also for those of you that have not been to Colombia. First of all, our money is worth so much more in Colombia. It's worth more than it is here in the Dominican Republic. Like, you make $25,000 a year and you're rich in Colombia. So you can easily go out. I remember we would go out and my daughter was with us at the time. And she's in college, like she's college age. So it was me, my daughter, and my son. And we were eating a whole meal for like $15. Our most expensive meal in Colombia was $20. So yeah, I will say it's very cheap to eat there. She said, Amelia, did you move out of the places that you found hidden spy equipment? Or did you do something about that? Like, did you dismantle or cover it up? What did you do with that spy equipment? Or did you do something about that? Like, did you dismantle or cover it up? What did you do with that?
So I haven't had an experience with a microphone or a camera. I've only looked for them because I look for them. But the only times that I've been spied on that I know of are the nosy neighbors looking in the windows and stuff like that. Because then and it's funny because that host, I did end up staying. In fact, I ended up, that happened like month 1 in my keto stay. And I sent a kind of a passive aggressive message because they showed up like randomly on a Sunday and the house was a mess. They just showed up and the wife was like being a busybody and kind of pushed her way in and was looking around. And I was very confused. And it was like only my second country. And I didn't know culturally, like I didn't want to be offensive, but I was like, is she looking for drugs? Is she looking for a man? What is she looking for? I don't understand. But I was like sitting outside with the husband who was obviously like very apologetic. And she was just being crazy. So she comes downstairs with like like a rod from a curtain that I had taken down the curtain shades upstairs. And so the rod was just there. She brought that out and she took it outside with her. So I sent them kind of a passive aggressive message about, when I leave, that rod won't be available because it's going to be in my video, but I can't put it back because your wife took it. So I wanted to and this is true whenever you have an uncomfortable conversation or situation or whatever with your Airbnb host I wouldn't be passive aggressive like me, but I would make a message within the Airbnb app, even if you're normally communicating through WhatsApp, in the Airbnb app, so that you have evidence that Airbnb can access that, well, this person was crazy. Because that might just be the first time that they start being crazy. So whenever you have a situation, and thankfully that was the one and only time, put it on the Airbnb app so that you have evidence later, so that if you need to cancel or you need to leave. But in that case, it was fine. The husband was obviously very apologetic. And then he kept doing this other thing, which is another hint that people might be spying on you, is he kept offering cleaning services. You guys are going to think that I'm like completely a mess, but he kept like, I can send a host there. I can send a cleaning there. And I was like, oh, I'm a single mom and I don't need anybody extra to know that I'm here alone with a little boy, which was a total lie. I just didn't want anybody else in my place. And so he's like, yes, your privacy is important. I'm like, I guess he figured that out. But regarding the security of being a single mom with a little boy, I don't terribly worry about it. Now I do I post on Instagram every single day. I do YouTube videos. I tell people generally where I am. And I also include in my Airbnb host profile that I am on YouTube. I am on Instagram. I obviously don't tell people exactly where I am. I use general terms so people don't know where I am. But I don't worry too much about it because I've taken other steps to protect myself. This is going to make me sound crazy, but my online name is Amelia Morgan. That's not my real name. That's not my real name. My family name is a different name. My first name is a different name. And so if I were to be staying in a hotel or something and someone calls the hotel and says, can I speak to Amelia Morgan? Or they're looking for me, they'll never find me because that's not my real name. They'll find someone, but it'll not be me. So that's just one of those being online, having an online persona. I use a fake name to protect myself and my son. And that kind of helps me in more other broad ways. But telling my host that I'm alone with a kid, honestly, and this might just be cultural, what typically happens is at one point during the month, the wife will send the husband, or the husband will come himself and he'll offer to do dad stuff. I had this happen in Santa Rosa, Peru, and it was the sweetest thing. This guy just shows up randomly and he goes, I'm here. You don't have a husband. No esposo. I help. And I'm like, help what? He was like, he wanted to check drains and light bulbs and things like that I obviously take care of myself. But he was like, I kill spiders. You call me for spiders. I'm like, okay, sure. So I don't worry about it.
Okay, so I love that. First of all, as you can see, I use my name. I've gotten used to using my name in businesses. So I don't do that, but that's really smart. So if you're, going to be setting up your business, maybe you should do like Amelia and do a alter ego and go by that. So I like that. Some of the things I wanted to talk to you about, you said that, as Americans, we're a bit entitled. And some of the stuff we're just not used to. Like in Dominican Republic, when I first went to the Airbnb, she was telling me I had to pay for the water jug that goes through the refrigerator. And I'm like, what do you mean? I already paid for, I thought water came with it. Water did not come with my apartment. And it was something I had to get used to because it's the first time I had ever, you literally buy these big jugs, like Crystal Light jugs, and there's a pump and you pump the water and that's how you get your water, And then the other thing is that, things break down. So are you fixing things? And whenever something happens, because when something doesn't work, I'm texting the host, and my friend is like, Charisma, you can't text them every time something doesn't work. And I'm like, I mean, it was supposed to work when I got here. It doesn't work. So I'm letting them know it's not working. So are you doing a lot of maintenance and things yourself, or are you contacting the host and letting them know that you need help or something is broken or needs to be fixed? Or something is broken or
So I don't do a lot of stuff. I mean, if a light goes out, I'll replace a light bulb. Again, part of this is because I stay so long. If I'm spending 3 months somewhere, I'm buying my own toilet paper. I'm doing that kind of stuff, right? So that's something that I don't terribly but like if I clog the sink with rice, I'll declog the sink because I'm embarrassed and I'm an idiot. But if something's broken, like the washer stops working, then I message them. Now, there is the new summer 2022 update where Airbnb is supposed to be more helpful to if things like that pop up. And so you should reach out to Airbnb. The rule is that you're supposed to contact Airbnb within 72 hours of you noticing the problem. So, and then they'll decide if it's worthy of a reimbursement or they're going to do something about it. Now, within those 72 hours, you're supposed to reach out to the host first and say, like, hey, here's a problem. Can you fix it? But if they don't fix it in the first 2 days, reach out to Airbnb because you have to contact them within the first 72 hours to say, whatever the issue is. And then they'll decide if it's part of the, it's called air cover, which is like technically an insurance that you get as a guest. There's an air cover for hosts and air cover for guests. And that's one of the things that if something's broken, like the heat goes out in the winter or something like that, they will help you either move to another place or whatever. But yeah, if stuff comes up, I usually I stay in places that don't have a lot of stuff, but I fix things as they come up. Regarding the extra charges, though, there are I found a bunch of places in Texas, not in other countries, where they would charge extra over the winter for heat or something like that. Whenever I see something on a profile like that, I just delete it. I'm not interested in booking with them because, again, I don't want to have any money coming from me to them. So if there's something on the profile, I don't like that. That's also one of the older scams that they used to run. I don't think those people are on the platform anymore, but they used to run a scam where you would pay for parking and then you'd show up and you pay some rando for parking, but the Airbnb listing didn't actually exist. So you'd pay for parking like $40 and then you would not have a key, or you would get a key that was bogus and the Airbnb wasn't real and that person would be gone. Again, I think those places are gone off the platform. Airbnb is really good about getting rid of scammers in general. But what was I going to say about the paying for extra stuff? If I were because sometimes when we've been talking earlier this week about some rules that people have, if I were to show up at an Airbnb and there was a list of rules or there was a list of charges or a list of anything else that I needed to do, I would be like, no, I didn't sign up for that. And I would leave. I would call Airbnb and get my money back, because telling me that I have to, this didn't happen on Airbnb, but when I was house sitting one time, I showed up to a house sitting gig in New Hampshire, and the lady had a binder full of stuff, and it included things like no fragrances, like no fragrance stuff, because she has some kind of allergy. And I was like, no, that's stupid. I'm not doing that. So I'm leaving. You better find somebody else for your cat, because I didn't sign up for this. So they have to put their stuff on their profile. And obviously, if I see it on the profile, I'm not picking them. But if I show up and there's anything else, I mean, you just have to decide, is it worth the $5 to get a water jug? But that lady with her crazy hypoallergenic stuff, I was like, sorry, no, we had a contract online and you're asking me for a bunch of extra stuff. I'm out.
Yeah. So I like that. So my water jug situation, that's a Dominican Republic thing. That's not a one person thing. But as my first Airbnb in Dominican Republic, I learned that very quickly. I like that you also do house sitting. You gotta share with us if how which one do you like better? Do you like the house sitting? Do you like the Airbnbs? Which one do you like better? I was looking at my notes here. Tell us about that because I know it's some ladies interested in house sitting, and I actually just signed up for house sitting. I just haven't done a house sit yet because I know it's some ladies interested in house sitting, and I actually just signed up for house sitting. I just haven't done a house sit yet.
Okay, so my story is that in September of 2019, I had a major financial reversal. I was making a ton of money, and life just hit me the wrong way, and we were homeless. And so we were like legit homeless, rolling out of Omaha, Nebraska with $500 in a minivan. Thank goodness I had a minivan paid off. And so we used trustedhousesitters.com. Back then it cost like $80 to sign up. Now it's like $200. But that is how we were homeless for like a year. I had like no money, and in exchange for house sitting for people, I got free lodging, and it was my creative solution to figuring out how to, keep my kids safe. So that was what I did. I used trustedhousesitters.com, and we just stayed around the US. And like we stayed for like a year, maybe 15 months. And out of that time, I had like not even seven, like 3 or 4 nights where we had to like sleep in the Walmart parking lot. But otherwise, we were like totally homeless, and life sucked for us. We were making it work, and I was trying to figure things out, doing freelancing and stuff like that. But that's how we were, that's how I was affording life back then so that's why I'm totally cool. I'm not bougie at all, because I think, oh, this is better than a tent, because we did tent camping too. So yeah, trustedhousesitters.com and there's a lot of them, but that is one that actually works internationally. I used it around the US.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about that situation. It's amazing how we as mothers, we do what we need to do to get where we need to get. Like you said, oh no, we're not doing this homeless. We're gonna go ahead and use something else. And I'm gonna put this in here, trusted house sitters. And I think that is amazing. I mean, I love to hear those stories like that because I'm always all about empowering women. And I mean, that's really smart to use that. I don't even think I would have thought to do trusted house sitters. Now, let me ask you, do you still do house sitting or do you do just Airbnb? And why do you do one or the other? Airbnb, and why do you do one or the other?
So we just do Airbnb now, 100%. The downside to doing house sitting is it's a lot more administrative stuff. Like you have to be on it every day and find your gigs, and you're on somebody else's schedule. I mean, obviously we lost a bunch of our gigs and had to transition to tent camping with COVID because people stopped traveling, so they didn't need house sitters. That's what happened to us. But we, I much more prefer Airbnb because I go on the day that I want. And for me, I'm crazy about maximizing exactly 90 days when I'm allowed 90 days in a country. I get an extension for 180 days. I'm maximizing 180 days in that country. I am flying on day 180. So I don't hassle with anybody else's schedule or doing any of this stuff. Though I will tell you that my kid loved it because Trusted House Sitters is specifically for people that have pets. And so we were like not only staying in their house, but we're staying with their dogs and their cats and all that fun stuff. So it was a super fun year. I think my kid wishes that we still did that, but no.
Okay. Yeah, I don't do camping, so I don't know. I know there's a couple of YouTubers. I think what it do is one of the YouTubers where she actually does camping. She does it out of her camper and she travels the United States. I think she does that. I'm not sure if she's on here anymore, but that is just amazing. So, ladies, here we've talked about the bad with Airbnb. We talked about the good with Airbnb. We talked about how to find a good Airbnb. Amelia has dropped so many gems and given us so much great information. Like I took my notes because Airbnbs are rough, but I'm gonna start doing what Amelia says. I'm gonna get on Airbnb today and I'm going to update my profile and I'm going to be ready for my next experience. I'm gonna clean before I leave, even though I pay a cleaning fee. Yeah, so I'm gonna do all of that. So I definitely appreciate Amelia. Anything else you wanna tell us before you leave, Amelia? Anybody else have any questions for her? Can you share? I know you said you're in Colombia. Where else have you been? What else can you tell us before we go? Can you tell us?
Oh, I'm sorry for the confusion. I'm in Santiago, Chile right now. So we have been we were in Bogota, Colombia for 3 months, Quito, Ecuador for 6 months, 3 months in Lima, Peru, and now 3 months in Santiago, Chile. We're kind of making our way across the country. Next, we're going to Buenos Aires, Argentina, and then Montevideo, Uruguay. My plan is actually to stay in Uruguay, get second citizenship there. It's a really easy country to get second citizenship. And my online business and my online stuff is doing really well. I'm in a completely different place than I was a year ago. And so I can actually afford to go buy a house in Uruguay and live there. And so that's kind of our long-term plan once we get there, but we're taking our time. Let me make sure there's any other questions. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I don't have anything else to say, but I really appreciate you guys. You can, of course, follow me I have my YouTube channel, Traveling Sam Books, which is like a more parent-to-parent lifestyle advice, how to transition to full-time travel, if that's something that you want to do. I specifically talk about how to do all the things I was talking about in this video, lots on Airbnb and stuff like that. So if you want more information about making the transition, it's all geared specifically to Americans, how to go to full-time travel. And we're on Instagram if you want more of the vlogging stuff, because I have the most adorable little boy. And so I post every single day of our, I like to call exceedingly gloriously boring life of being at parks and doing stuff, because we really don't do anything terribly exciting. We just get to do it in super fun places. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Tell me your Instagram again. I have your YouTube up, but let me put your Instagram in the chat for you. Again, I have your YouTube up, but let me put your Instagram in the chat for you. Again, I have your YouTube up, but let me put your Instagram in the chat for you.
Traveling Sam Brooks.
And I have your YouTube up. Traveling Sam Brooks. Great. She typed it in there. Here we go. So that is her Instagram. So make sure you all connect with her on Instagram. Make sure you follow her on YouTube. She has dropped some great tips for Airbnb today, and we love having you. We hope to see you soon. And make sure you follow, share my channel, and you do the same for Sam's channel. See you later, Sam. Share my channel, and you do the feedback on there. Y'all let me know if you have any other questions before we jump off here. My channel, of course, is Charisma Cares Travels the World. You can always catch me for coaching. I do coaching for traveling, and we do all of these wonderful things. With the coaching, if you're a special needs parent or if you're a single parent, you can always get the coaching. But the biggest thing that we're doing right now is we're doing the 5-day real estate challenge that starts tomorrow. So for you all that are still looking at joining, I can't wait to have you. I will be cutting that off today at midnight. So if you want to join the 5-day real estate challenge, go ahead and join in. And I think that's all for us. Let's take a look one more time, see if we have any other questions. Ray, you are late. Ray asked me about the squatters. So Ray, you're going to have to go back and check out the review. We went through the squatters. We went through Airbnb and the new rules. And then Amelia jumped on here and she told us all about how to find our own Airbnb. So make sure you go back because I showed a video about the squatters. It's crazy, y'all. So, all right, y'all go out, enjoy your day, and we'll be here next week. Next week, I have something extra special. I'm having another guest next week. So make sure you click the bell so you find out when my next live is. We'll be here next week, Sunday at 10:30. Ciao.